have not said goodbye. I am deep in denial.
I've done everything I could for the character, I think, and so it feels all the good things must come to an end, I feel.
Well, I don't think it's coming to an end. I feel like the door is still open, and I'm remaining positive, and that's. Hey,
Just
I
wait
did.
for the fourth one, you know.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. We're kind of matching.
Well, can I just tell you, you look a lot better in red than I do. And I so appreciate your time. Last year, I actually sent Jimmy Kimmel's niece, Allison, in my place. She was our guest interviewer, and you were so kind to her. So I wanted to start with a question from her because she is such a huge fan. And her question is, was there something special that you did to say goodbye to your character when you guys wrapped production? Was there something that you did?
I have not said goodbye. I am deep in denial. So no, but I will say that on the final day of wrapping, I wrapped in Korea, and the girls, Anna, Janelle, Sorry You, they wrapped a couple hours before me, and then they went home, and I finished, and it was so brutal. I was like such a mess. In fact, I was such a mess that the scene that I like shot that wrapped me out didn't even make the movie because they were just like, what is a wreck? Like we cannot even have this in the movie. So I've collected so many letters that the cast has written to me. I've collected so many letters that production has written to me. And I think it's very symbolic that it all started with a letter and it ended with these really beautiful letters and notes of gratitude and love. But I haven't said goodbye yet. I will when it releases on Netflix. And then I will be forced to say goodbye. But until then, I'm deep in denial.
Well, can I just tell you something? I'm staying in denial because I'm convinced the door was left open, and I'm convinced there is something that to come of this. So I'm just saying.
We'll stay hopeful together.
We'll stay hopeful. In all seriousness, though, is your boyfriend kind of over it? Like, is he like, listen, I'm thrilled for you, but quite frankly, I'm done.
Oh my God, he has been such a trooper for the past 3 years. Like I cannot even begin. But you know what? He is a fan of the movies. He really just is like the most supportive person ever. And he wants me to be successful and he wants my dreams to come true. And he knows that I love to act and I love this world. And he's very supportive of it. And, he is very friendly with Noah and friendly with the whole cast in general. We've all traveled together around the world. So I think he's excited for what's to come in my future, but he's not over it. He likes it. He likes it.
He likes it. Yeah. It's so funny. Oprah always says you want to be with someone who makes you more of yourself, not less of yourself.
Ooh.
I actually quoted her in my wedding vows, believe it or not, that quote, but it sounds like that's the guy you have. But as we look back, and I asked Jenny this question earlier, so I'll ask it to you. What is the biggest change that you've seen in Noah? And what is the biggest change you've seen in you since all this started?
Since all of this started, Noah, he is a lot of the same. In terms of just his general personality and the way that he treats others. I think the biggest change might be like, obviously, like he gets stopped everywhere he goes. Right. And like, so we can't really, when we're out together, it's very difficult. So it's just like, it's almost better for us to like, just call each other on the phone. But I think his heart has stayed the same for sure. For me, I think the biggest change, besides everything, it has really, I'm very much more a homebody, and not just because of the pandemic. I think these films have made me really value security in my home and love in my home and be closer to my family and closer to my, my parents and my brother and Anthony. So I used to feel a little bit more like, oh, I want to go out, I want to do all these things. And now I really appreciate the still quiet moments of life more than I've ever had prior to these films.
I can't congratulate you enough. I am so excited. Anthony's not the only one excited for your future. And I made you pancakes, but I know not in person. So virtually. Noah, I'm Tara Hitchcock. And last year I sent Jimmy Kimmel's niece, Allison, in my place.
Yes.
And you could not have been nicer and more fabulous. And thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Oh my God, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I actually texted her and I said, give me a question because you did such a great job last time. Here it is. She wants to know.
She killed it. She was very prepared. I remember she had the cards and everything.
Well, she wants to know, did you do anything special to say goodbye to your character after production wrapped on this?
Man, I went home and I went to bed.
Nothing. Did you sob a little bit? Did you get emotional?
No, I a little emotional for sure. It's a very bittersweet feeling without a doubt. But I knew it would not be the end. We're still working on it. We're doing ADR and we're getting it just right and fine tuning it. And I'm not saying goodbye to my friends. Lana and Ross and Madeline and Anna and Janelle, everyone. I'm not saying goodbye to anyone. I'm just saying goodbye to the character. And I think I've done everything I could for the character, I think. And so it feels all the good things must come to an end, I feel.
Well, I don't think it's coming to an end. I feel like the door is still open and I'm remaining positive. And that's, hey, I did
the fourth one,
Well, and this one is so great because, she's got some tough decisions to make. And obviously a big one is, where does she go to college? What does she do? What's been the hardest decision that you've had to make in the past couple years?
It's hard to say, I made the decision to move to LA at 15. I made the decision to completely dedicate my life to a career path, but that never felt hard because it always felt right. I think sometimes in life, the hardest decision can be to let go of people as well, that maybe you love so much, but just might not be the right time. That those decisions are never easy. I think even doing things that are really healthy for you sometimes that are hard, in a completely different way, can be hard, but ultimately the idea of persevering through all of it is super important. But I don't know, it's hard to say that any decision is hard, because I feel like if I feel like I'm making the right decision, despite how hard it is, it's worth it in the end.
And either way, it kind of gets you to where you're supposed to be, whether it's
that's kind of how I feel about most things.
I asked Jenny and I asked Lana this question, so I'll ask you. What in your opinion has been the biggest change in you since this whole thing started?
I definitely am super entitled and arrogant now. I think my head I think in some way, I catch myself being like, why are you thinking this right now?
Well, it's funny. Do you know what Jenny said? Jenny said that at the beginning you were so nervous about even taking photos, and I just saw your spread, I think yesterday or the day before, and I'm like, oh, he has no problem getting some good shots now. That was fantastic.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fire. I used to model when I was younger and I stopped doing it because it was so commercial. And I felt that I had this artificial synthetic smile and I hated it because I started when I was 8 years old. And then recently I started, you do editorial work and I love it. It's super fun.
Yeah. Well, you're good at it. I wish we had more time. I can't congratulate you enough. Hey, I did pick the Patriots, the Buccaneers to end up in the Super Bowl. So again, I'm going with another one in the works, and I made you pancakes.
Yay! Thank you.
So I'll eat them for you.
Yeah, please do. Eat up the maple syrup in the microwave too, or something,
All right. At least I'll put some more. This was kind of weak. So.
Come on, that's not fair.
Sorry. Thanks, Noah. Sorry. Jenny, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to you. First of all, I know I've heard that this is the last one, but come on, you left the door open, didn't you?
I mean, I say never say never, but I do think that we leave Lara Jean in a nice place.
Mhm.
So that's all I'll say about that, I guess.
Well, listen, I'm putting my money, I'm going to bet on the Super Bowl, and I'm going to bet on you doing another one in the future.
Oh my goodness.
You know, can we talk about something that we can't do that much of right now, which is travel? And I loved seeing you guys go to Korea. And I would imagine for you, that was extra special. But it is about life-changing trips. And there are a few that take place in this movie. For you, what has been a life-changing trip?
Wow. What a great question. I would say studying abroad in London for me was life-changing because it was my first time living in a big city, and being so far from home. And I guess most people would think that living in London isn't that different than living in the US, but it is very different. I mean, just in terms of, I'll say one thing, us Americans really are very litigious. Like there's this idea of like, if I slip and fall in your store, I'm going to sue, or like the customer is always right. Like Americans have been brought up to believe that the customer is always right. And I don't think that's the same mentality abroad. And so I think it's kind of learning, getting that perspective of you not being the center of the universe, and that people aren't there to like help solve your problems. You have to figure it out for yourself. I think because I had never lived in an apartment before that was like outside of a school dorm situation, and
Right.
you know, I had my job. I was doing class at night, but doing a job during the day. And it was a lot, but it was a big like growing experience.
Yeah. I like London so much. My girlfriend's been posting weekly pictures of London just to make me angry because we can't go there right now. So I can relate. You know, and looking back, and it's so neat, even in the trailer, you get to kind of revisit some of those great moments from the other films. I just want to ask you about the two main characters here. The biggest change you've seen in Noah since you met him years ago and he started this, and then the biggest change you've seen in Lana, and then finally the biggest change you've seen in yourself.
Oh, wow. I think that Noah, to me, in some ways, has really like come into his own in terms of being so visible. Where I think he was maybe on the first film, he was like more shy about like having his picture taken, even. You know what I mean? I was like getting a lot of behind the scenes, and he was always like, running away from me. But then he was on the second film, he came back, and I think he was really like humble, which we were so lucky for both of them. They came back, and you know, even after all the success of the films, they both had a really good attitude about it, and it felt a lot like, you know, the camp reunion of everyone being back together again and sort of rolling up their sleeves and continuing with Lara Jean's story. So we were really lucky in that respect.
How about Lana, and how about you? Biggest changes you've seen?
I think that Lana has, you know, I think on the first film she was only either 19 or 20, and now she's like this young woman. So I think I see her, and she is like a real career woman who's, I think even when I first met her, I saw her as somebody who had knew what she wanted, and she was going to go after it, and was really different than Lara Jean in that aspect, and had this like a lot of confidence. And I think she still has that same confidence, but she's like just matured in so many ways. And for me, gosh, how have I changed? I guess it's just the experience for me has opened up the different ways for me to be creative and for me to tell stories. And I think as an artist, as you kind of try and expand your mind and make your palette, your artist palette bigger, then hopefully you will just like grow as an artist and find new ways to tell story.
Well, congratulations. I hope the next time we do this, it's in person, ideally in London. We can have some tea and scones, and I just can't wait to see you and meet you in person. And
Thank
stay
you so
safe.
much.